If you're a new comedian looking for some new information on how to write, how to get up on stage, how to whatever, this is the place. We're here today with Willie Macc. You've seen this guy on national commercials. He's had hit shows. He's been on BET, HGTV. He's been all over the place. He's wonderful, and he's going to share some of his insight. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like and share this video, and let's get started. All right, Willie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm originally from, I like telling people that I'm from St. Louis, Arkansas. And it's because I was born in Arkansas, but I only lived there until I was 3 years old. And then I was raised in St. Louis. So I never really know how to answer that question when people was like, where are you from? Like, where am I from or where was I raised? Like when you ask people that's like been in the military, they're like where are you from? Like, oh, I'm from everywhere. That's what like a lot of like military folks say. Like, so I'm like, I'm gonna say St. Louis, Arkansas. So St. Louis, Arkansas.
Bro, I feel you on that. Look, a lot of people have asked me that, and I was born in Jacksonville, Florida, on a military base. Raised the first 11 years of my life in Houston, the next 11 of my life in Buffalo, New York, and then I moved to California, and I've been here 20 years. So I've kind of just been all over the place as well.
Yeah, so it is one of those weird questions where it's like you got to figure out a creative way to say that. And I know I'm probably take over some of this part of this interview, but I think it's interesting, the whole creative side of how to word things. I'm learning now because I'm a fairly clean comic. I talk about some touchy stuff sometimes, but like I had an interview with America's Got Talent. They wanted to bring me on, and they told me which jokes they want. And they was like, they're like, we like this lesbian joke about the lesbian baby mama, but you can't say lesbian. And I'm like, then what can I say? I'm like, can I say butch stud, femme? They're like, no, you can't say anything like that. You just have to refer to it. You have to come up with a creative way of saying that. And I said, wow. And I was like, and I figured it out eventually. I was like, oh, I knocked up a lesbian in high school and not the cheerleader type. Like me and my baby mama both look handsome at prom. Like that's kind of how I creatively, they're like, that works. That's how you should do it. And I was like, oh, wow. So yeah, creativity.
I get that. I have been trying to write clean comedy, and just for people out there, I've been working on a 10-minute set, and it's all about a sex doll, which I refer to the set as a CPR doll through the whole thing. And I refer to her as the CPR doll or Monica through the whole set. So so people can kind of put together what's going on without calling it what it is.
Yeah.
So I get that. You got to be creative. Willie, have you been doing comedy through quarantine? And if so, where have you been doing your comedy?
I have been doing comedy through quarantine. Let me hold on. Let me actually, I don't even have this on me. I was going to record it because I'm doing an interview with this magazine and they're asking me about quarantine comedy. Like, have you been doing comedy? They're asking me the same questions. I'm like, maybe I should record myself and just like, hey, here you go. No, I'm joking. So, no, but that's real. So yes, I have been doing comedy through quarantine. It's been like this, like a roller coaster of how I've been performing. Because at first, when Zoom started being introduced to us, maybe like March, April of last year, I was like, I'm not doing this. We're gonna be back to normal by May, June. Then May came, and they're like, the earth is over. Like we're gonna look like World War Z. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this Zoom comedy, and I got really decent at it. Like when I say I got good at Zoom comedy, first of all, it's nothing like the stage. It's kind of like Zoom comedy is like you accidentally rubbing your dick against your couch and you coming. It's like, oh, it's not sex, but I still came. Like that's kind of what Zoom comedy is for me. So I became, I guess, so what I started doing after a while, because you find out you can't really do your regular stage set on a Zoom show. You can't sit here and, you get me? And there's like, let me scroll through to see who got me. Like, you can't do it. So I started mixing a little bit of improv with Zoom now. So what I will do is like, I'll have my friends come over and we're all a part of this show, but the audience doesn't know it. for example, my friend Danny, who I do my podcast with, Afro Noodles, and he's like, he'll be in the kitchen. He's Asian, by the way. I don't know if I said that.
Danny Plums.
Yeah, Danny Plum.
Yeah.
So while I'm doing it, like, all right, come to the stage, Willie Macc, da-da-da, woo. And I start off my joke, like, hey, what's up, y'all, Willie Macc? And I'm doing this, and hey, Willie. I'm like, Danny, I'm doing my show. What? Why you didn't, what? He'll be like, hey, do you cut the watermelon from the tall side or from the middle? What the fuck kind of question are you asking me? Right during the middle of my fucking, and like I'm arguing with him, and people are like, what's going on? This is crazy. So I started implementing that with that. Then maybe around October, I was asked to perform in some of these states where they're kind of open. Like I did St. George, Utah. St. George, Utah was like, hey, come through. We're doing the Electric Theater. And I was able to do that, and I did like a hotel and all of that. Then people started trying to do the whole outdoor thing. They're like, "Hey, we're doing outdoor shows now," or they're in their cars. So yeah, I've done a bit of stand up, a little bit of everything since I've been out here. Last week I did the Laugh Factory, and the way the Laugh Factory is set up, they'll bring the comics into the Laugh Factory. There's only like 5 people in there. It's like the 4 comics. Maybe more. It's the producer, and there's like 8 of us all together in there. And they'll have like TV screens where there's like 5 TV screens. 2 of the TV screens show the angle that you're at. Like, so you're already kind of looking at yourself, because this one's like a wide angle, this one's a little bit close up. And then they'll show like this like a virtual audience in front of you. So yeah, that was really interesting. And so that's kind of what I've been doing stand-up wise.
Yeah, my buddy works over at the Laugh Factory, and he sent me a photo, and I saw all the big monitors, and you could see all the Zoom, the Zoom grids on each monitor, so the comedians can see and what I would be doing. I'm sure you were doing it too, probably interacting with some of those people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jerry, are you on your toilet?
That's the biggest thing about Zoom. If you figure out just enough interaction to make it feel real, then it's cool. Some people depend on the interactions too much, or they like just, I get commenting on people's backgrounds. I've done it a little bit, but some people stay in that world. Yeah. Versus like figuring out how to mix. Like I'm like, oh, like I see the calendar. Oh, my son's birthday is February 19th. He's turned 18. I got an 18-year-old, and then I'll be able to turn that into my joke. I figured out how to turn my son joke into based off something that I see in their background. Yeah. So blah blah blah. So yeah.
I've done some virtual shows, and I would say one thing I've learned is if you're not one of the first 2 comics in the show, to see which of the viewers are most interactive, which ones are laughing the most, and which ones seem to be really like tuned into the show, because then you might be able to get them into a conversation if you want to have that interaction. I think that's one of the best things you can do there in the virtual shows too. Let's see. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on virtual comedy. You know what I mean? Like, you obviously said like your first initial thought was it's not sticking around. I personally thought differently, which is why I created my show back in March of last year. I saw an opportunity. I thought, which I've had the pleasure of having you on the show, which is awesome. But I created it thinking this is something where I can at least try to be innovative and create something new. And I felt like it was going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
I know you didn't think it was going to be around, and I think a lot of comedians didn't think it was going to be around for that long. What are your thoughts on it, like today, like versus then?
I don't.
And let me follow it with the future. Like, where do you see it sticking around once clubs open? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely here. It's going to be here to stay. We've opened up a whole different Pandora's box, and I know I do a lot of sexual references, which is, I guess, whatever. But it's kind of like the woman who uses a dildo way too much, and now when she gets the real thing, it's like, I did it. I got used to doing this way. Like, thank you very much, though. Like, so I feel the same way with some of these Zoom shows. Like when I did my first actual, because I was doing Zoom shows for so long that when I did an actual show, it almost felt different. It was like, I gotta move differently. I can't have Danny scream out, "Where's the watermelon?" or anything like that. I'm like, all right. It was like a quick moment where it's like, I forgot most of my set. Like when I had to do the thing up in Utah, they wanted me to do 30 minutes. And I was like, I haven't done 30 minutes in so long. What was my 30 minutes? And it's like, it was harder than I thought. But it's here to stay for the reason that some people are now this is perfect for loners. I mean, you don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about 2 drink minimums. You don't have to worry about get how much tickets you can have people in the background. It's actually fun. You can travel without traveling on some occasions. Like I just did a show in New Jersey on Zoom. So now when things open up, those comics from New Jersey know who I am. They're like, "Hey, Willie, thanks for doing our Zooms. Things are open back up. If you here, let us know."
Yep.
Or like I'm being asked to do a corporate show online for Apple. Apple was like, "Hey, can you do like 30, 45 minutes and we'll pay you?" And we're bringing together our team from all over to just be on this little Zoom show or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely here to stay. I'm not mad at it, but you definitely need to figure out how to have a different routine and how to. It's because
we're stuck in this box.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think it's completely different than being on stage. You do need a new routine.
Yeah, I have 2 cars. I bought a '92 Camaro. Like it's one of but my everyday car is a Prius. It's like just the way that you step on the gas is different. It's like I can't drive my Prius the same way I drive my Camaro and vice versa. So you do have to have those same those different type of energies and different type of interactions and the way that you go about doing it. And but yeah, it's here to stay.
So is virtual comedy the Camaro or the Prius?
Virtual comedy is definitely the Prius. It's a lot quieter. It's not as fun. Ain't nothing like the Camaro, man.
And I guess people all around save money anyway, right?
Yes, and people all around save money. Virtual comedy is good for the environment.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Willie, I kind of know a little bit about you, but let everyone else know, like, which comedian was the most impactful to you and influenced you the most.
If people had to guess based off my name, they already should know who my most inspiring comedian is. Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac is the reason I changed my name to Willie Mac. I found out that his real name is Bernard McCullen. And I was like, what? We can change our names in this industry? I was like, because my real name is William McMiller. And so I was working, and this was 2006. I was doing the Bernie Mac show. And I was just a background actor on here. And we was only supposed to work one day, the background actors. But it ended up turning into like 6 days because Bernie Mac was like really sick. He had pneumonia. And so he would only be on set for like an hour on this day. He would only be on set. He didn't come in at all on this day or whatever. It was like really rough. But around day 3, I used to have this really big afro back in the day. And I'm actually going to show you while I'm talking about this. And so one day, Kalita Smith, who played Bernie Mac's wife on the Bernie Mac show, she says to me, she's like, "You look country as hell. Where are you from?" And I was like, St. Louis, Arkansas. I did that little thing. And she's like, "Really?" After I told her, she's like, "Oh, my assistant's from St. Louis." Found out that me and her assistant went to the same high school. We know the same teachers. Different years we graduated, but all of that. And so while I'm talking to her, Bernie Mac comes out and says, "Who's this melted milk dud y'all talking to?" That's what Bernie Mac called me. He called me a melted milk dud. Where's my camera? So this is how my fro used to look back in the day.
Damn, dude. That's awesome. What do you call you, a melted milk dud?
Yeah, he's like, "Who's this little melted milk dud y'all talking to?"
That was great.
And for the rest of the days that I was on set, he was like one of the coolest people I've ever met. He was cool to me, and I was fresh out here, kind of fresh out here. I moved out here in 2004, and he was like talking to just a background actor, and he's fucking Bernie Mac. And I was like, whatever it is this dude does, I want to be him. So I modeled my stand-up to be the millennial version of Bernie Mac. So
Nice.
That's kind of who the most influential person is to me and my career has been.
That's awesome, man. And that's awesome you got to have that interaction with him too and take that with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was dope.
All right. If I was starting out to do comedy today, like day one, what are a few tips you would give me?
It's gonna suck for a long time. Make sure you're passionate about it. Because I did stand up since 2000. I started stand up in 2008. I had a show on BET, and I used to do all these radio interviews. And they were like, "You're really funny on the show. Tell us a joke." I wasn't a comic at this time. I never wrote a joke. And I used to just be like, "Oh man, I'm just one of those goofy dudes, blah, 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 blah." But I was asked this so many times. I was like, fine, I'm gonna write out a joke. My very first joke that I've ever written was this. I was like, "Oh, well, I'm still new to California and Los Angeles. So since I've been out here, I've been shot at 3 times. My car was broken into and my place was robbed. But I got that taken care of and I broke up with that girl." Like that was my very first joke.
That's a good one.
And people were like, "Oh, that's funny." After a while, they're like, "Tell us another one." And I was like, I gave you all my material. Some comics struggle with 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I struggle with a minute. Like after 15 seconds, I was like, I got nothing for you. So I started stand up then, and then I did it for like 3 years. But the way that I was writing, I was forcing myself to make people laugh. Like, y'all are gonna laugh, love this, and if you don't laugh, then it's on you all. And I got a lot of bombs, and I said, I hate this, I'm done. So I quit stand-up in 2011, and I was a TV editor. And I was making good money as a TV editor. And but I was losing my mind sitting in this cubicle all day long. And so I missed being on the stage. And not only did I miss being on the stage, I started seeing my friends who I started with blow up. Brent Morin, Ari Shaffir, Gerard Carmichael, Adam Ray, all these people I know. Like, and even Andrew Santino. Like, I know these guys. We played basketball together. I've seen Andrew Santino's bare ass on when he was doing a show at the Improv, and the only person in the audience was my girlfriend at the time. Like, when nobody came to see any of these guys. So I was like, man, what did I do wrong? So I started looking at my stand-up, and I started just watching other like professional like at the time, I watched old Bernie Mac videos. And the way when you see Bernie Mac perform, he doesn't care. He's telling random stories. And even I learned that it's also a confidence thing. Like Dave Chappelle can go on stage and be like, "Look at all you motherfuckers," and everybody will start laughing. And I'm looking like, this is not a joke. How do you write "look at you motherfuckers" and everybody's laughing? What's the joke in that? But it's his persona, the aura, that confidence that he gets, and the way that he just delivers it. "Look at you motherfuckers." Like, and the way that he says it is almost just like, y'all could be out here having sex, y'all could be making money, but y'all dumb motherfuckers came to see me. Look at you motherfuckers. That's the background behind it, and people laugh and they feel that. So as I studied that, I got back into comedy and I started implementing that. So what I would tell a younger comic is, it's going to suck. It's going to be hard. It's going to take years to find your voice. It's going to be a lot of open mics. And the way that I started doing more shows was I read a book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And what I learned about in that book was if you do stuff for other people, eventually other people will do something for you. So I used to be that guy at open mics. I would go to the 99-cent store and I would buy a little cheap bottle of wine and some cups. And while I'm at the open mic, I'd just be like, "Hey, anybody want some? I bought some wine." And the comics that are drinking are like, yeah, I'll take some. You know, I'm pouring everybody wine. So everybody's like, Willie's cool as hell. So this little $6 investment end up, hey, Willie, what you doing next weekend? I'm doing these shows. I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to do the shows. But in the back of my mind, this was all planned. Now, did I know it was going to work? No. But I knew at the end of the day, I know, you know, you start understanding people's, like, not just emotions, but you start understanding like the dynamics of humans and just people in general. People will do stuff for their friends. You can have this amazing, talented actor right here, but people will put their friends in a script faster than they would put in this amazing, talented person. So I was like, even if I'm not the funniest comic in the room, I will be one of the most likable, and everybody's gonna be like, Willie's dope. He's gonna be the person. And then I now that I'm in a certain part of my life, just you know, financially, I'll say it, where I'm willing to help people. Like I made a post where I was like, hey, at the beginning of the pandemic, for a lot of the workers at some of these spots, I was like, hey, do y'all need help? Like, if y'all need your phone bills covered for a month or two, I got you. And now I'm not saying I did that because I'm like, yeah, this is gonna come back. What if you do it with some genuality, authenticity into it, then it's going to pay. It's going to come back to you eventually. Yep. And then I bought a camera. I have a camera, so I used to tell comics, you have a show, I will take pictures at your show for you, so you can give them to the comics or whatever. But you got to put me on another show later on.
Yep.
So that's how I started building my brand and who I am, and I forced myself to stand out by wearing my own merch. I have 1,000 jeans, 100 shoes, literally that many. And it's like, I have 5 shirts and all of them have my face on. And so I branded myself. So when people see me, and I was talking to my son's in the room. That's why I pointed like well, who are you pointing at? Is he standing right there? I was telling my son, I'm like, I want to come up with like a little catchphrase or a catch thing. So when people see me, I'm that guy that does, like after every joke, I'd be like, yee, or something stupid like that. And then, so when people see me, like, hey, that's the guy that be like, yee, at the end of his thing. So what can you do, new comics, to stand out? Why do I want to put you on my show versus my friends? What are you doing for me? Because this is kind of one of those type of industries. It's a what have you done for me lately type of industry that we're in. Comics are very cliquish. You see the same group of friends that hang out everywhere. They're doing stuff for each other. Now you're over here mad. A lot of comics are mad, like, man, they don't put me in none of their shows. Why should they? Why would they? Adam Sandler puts the same motherfuckers in all his movies. It's David Spade, Chris Rock, like, you know, like
Rob Schneider. Yep.
Yeah. Same core. Same with what's his name from Seth Rogen. He puts the same people in all his stuff. Yep. Why am I putting you in here? What have you done for me? What, you haven't won me as a friend, and I don't feel influenced. So that's what I would tell new comics. Is shorten it down. If I had to put it in like a couple of words, it sucks. Be passionate. Don't try to feel like you need to fit in or people owe you anything. Figure out how to stand out and figure out your voice. What makes you stand out? Like when you hear someone do like a, I did an awful impersonation, but like, you know, Eddie Murphy's laugh. Every time you see SNL, you hear that laugh, you know that's Eddie Murphy. Or you hear, you guys are getting on my, you hear Chris Rock. If SNL was supposed to do a sketch based off you, what would they do?
Yep. That's great. So, that's fantastic advice. And I also learned in that too, like make friends, make real friends, genuine friends.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't been in this business as long as you. I haven't been in this business that long. But one thing I did learn, I went to USC, I studied business and got into Toastmasters heavily. I've read Dale Carnegie's, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's so important to network. And this industry is very small.
Yeah.
And people run around in circles and, hey, I got a show. I already told the booker, you know, about you. He should be hitting you up. And then that goes full circle. People just keep booking each other on each other's shows. And I love that. And, you know,
and another thing that I do often, I have note cards. When I go to shows, and I hear other comics, I'll write tags for them. Like, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you want to use these or not, but I'll listen to your set. Here's some tags. I do that at the comedy store, even for the bigger names. I'm like, hey, I love you. I'm a comic as well. I wrote some tags.
Do you get pushback on that? I've done the same thing, and I've had some people are very accepting of it, and I've heard people use my tags, but I've had people be like, "Fuck off, dude! Like, I don't want your shit."
Have
you gotten that?
It is. I haven't got the fuck off, but I have. There's certain, you know who to do it to and who not to.
Yeah.
Like a Joe Rogan, unless you're like one of his best friends, you're not gonna do that. But you see some of these up and coming comedians, especially and I don't want to say it like this, but you know, a lot of comics are insecure. So if you do, even like those like C-list names where they're about to break off, they might have done like a 15-minute special on Netflix, or you see them often, and then they're like, hey, love your stuff. You don't try to start a conversation with them. It's just like, hey, love your stuff, funny. Hey, I'm a comic as well. Hey, just wanted to give you some tags. Or I'll send it on like DMs. Like I'll send them to their Instagrams and like, no. A lot of times they reply back. Often not I don't say often, but sometimes they don't reply at all. Leave you on scene. But then some of them like, oh, I like these, and you end up hearing those tags later. And then when they see you in person, it's like, hey, thanks for that. And they'll you start slowly but surely getting your name and your face seen and all this other stuff. And you start hanging out with those comics or whatever, people start to look at you differently. People look at me differently because I've been on a bunch of commercials. So people are like, man, Willie's over here killing the commercial game, or they hear that I'm like, just the fact that I posted that I'm about to be on this HGTV show. Like now people are like, hey man, what's going on? Now, like, I'm getting even more shows just based off that news. I'm like, y'all don't even know if it's true. I could be sitting here lying. I'm not. But I was like, it's one of those industries everybody wants to be in the know. It comes from a sense of, I don't want to say insecurity, but people want to, they're insecure. They want that, or they like, I get people that are like, I'm going to start wearing glasses to my shows. So you start seeing people with the same slightly different logo, but a little bit differently. I mean, I know the silhouette is nothing new. Like Willie, you didn't come up with that. But you see a lot of, you start seeing people either biting your style, or I was actually, let me see if I can show you this as I tell you, because this happened yesterday. And I've heard some comics, or no, these aren't even comics, these are actors who were like, hey, I started wearing glasses in my on my auditions because I seen you wearing glasses and you booked so much. And so I did an audition yesterday, and all the guys, let me see if I can turn this around, had freaking glasses on. And these are all guys who, no, man, I'm sure you're not really going to be able to see it, but this guy, glasses, this guy had glasses. They all kind of got this little hair fro, glasses. Everybody had glasses. This guy at the end, he had glasses.
I'm like looking for my glasses. Where's my glasses? Let me put my glasses on. I got the glasses without the lenses I wear for sketches, just for fun.
Oh yeah, I got that too, because you know that's how the light reflects.
Right?
Yeah. So that's kind of, I don't even know what the question was or why I went there, but that's kind of, I'm gonna end there.
Yeah. I like to ask people this, and this kind of goes off of the last thing with tips, but it might be a little bit differently. If Willie Macc today can go back to Willie Macc at the beginning of comedy, what strategy would you give him?
Man, so I remember when Brent Morin, Rick Glassman, Santino, Ari Shaffir, and who else was in this little crew real quick?
Adam Ray.
Adam Ray, and Josh Adam Myers. I could go on with this list. We was doing open mics, and I remember them like, hey, we're going to the Comedy Store. You want to roll? And I used to be like, oh, we get in time? It's like, no, we just hang out up at the Comedy Store. I'm like, who the fuck just hangs out at the Comedy Store?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, and I never did it. I went home and practiced editing because I was like, I'd rather try to make some real money than just to sit up here and go to the Comedy Store. But I learned they was up there networking. They was doing what I'm saying that I do now. They would sit there and they'll be in front of the faces and just hang out. They built that camaraderie. And at that time when Mitzi was alive and all that other stuff, she started taking a liking on these folks. This was before the Comedy Store was the Comedy Store. The Comedy Store didn't really start being super big until like 2008, about 2010 is when it started. It blew back up. Before at this time, the open mics, like the potluck only had like 50 people, if that went to them. Now it's like 200 people at these potlucks at the Comedy Store that's just waiting to be one of the 16 that goes up. Yep. And I wish I networked more. I was on my high horse because I had a hit TV show, even though it was on BT. I in my head, I was the shit, and I was just gonna keep blowing up. And it did not. I blew down, and so it never came into fruition. And I also wish I would have told my younger self, relax, have fun, enjoy the journey, because I was just focused on, all right, in 1 year I'm gonna be the man. I mean, that's like, no, that's not what's gonna happen. I read The Alchemist, and The Alchemist is just talking about just the journey. Just understand that this is what it is. Don't try to question it. A lot of sucky stuff is gonna happen, but if you're passionate about it, if you just keep going, this will happen. I was told there's a few type of people that will eventually succeed in this industry. You have the people who are very talented, the Dave Chappelle's and all these other people who we consider the guys, whatever. Then you have the people who are lucky. There's a lot of lucky ones, like, oh, I've been doing stand-up a year, and this person happened to be in the audience, and now my life has changed. It's like a year.
Yeah.
Sitting here grinding. Oh, I mean, somebody's super lucky, and then there's the people that won't go away. For some reason, some of these comics just did not go away, and they just stayed around, and they started getting shows, and they started doing stuff just based on they're almost the homies at this point. Like, there's this comic named Boom Shakalaka at the Comedy Store. I don't know if you know Boom. He's homeless actually, but everybody knows him. He doesn't go away from he sits in front of the Comedy Store all day, so he knows, and he tries to sell you items that he's found. And I actually bought some stuff from Boom. Like, I bought some little shirts that he found. He's like, hey, wait. Hey, what you think? I got this right here. What you think? Come on, what you think? This is a shirt. And I'm like, all right, Boom, how much? He's like, just give me $1. I'm like, fuck, Boom, why you just ain't ask for $1? Nobody wants you. Anyways, but Boom is known by everybody at the Comedy Store, no matter. And sometimes they throw him bones just to come up, like, hey, Boom, come on and say, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then I'm like, how did Boom he's not funny. He's not talented. He's not lucky. He's just persistent. He won't go away. And if you won't go away, you will succeed eventually. And success is a strong word. I'm not going to sit there and say you'll be Dave Chappelle eventually, but you'll have your own version of success, whether it's just being a staff writer. Like, I know a lot of comics who just hung out with some of these guys from the bottom, didn't go away, always wrote for them, was better writers than they were performers. You'll find out, maybe I'm not a stand-up comic. Maybe I am a writer. I like writing. Maybe I'm not a stand-up comic. Hey, let me direct you all's projects. Let me edit you all's project. So now you're editing or you're directing. And that's how a lot of comics found out that they're really directors, because they won't go away and they found their niche and it worked out for them eventually.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Those are great tips. Great information, bro. What are you still trying to figure out in this business today? Is there anything you're still trying to figure out?
That's a good question. What am I still trying to figure out? I am still trying to figure out how to not be the best comic at my level. Like, I'm ready to blow up, but then I had to ask myself, are you really ready, Willie? Like, if you went on TV right now and you did all your material, how long will it take you to write all new material? Because everybody's already heard this. Like, you look at some of these comedy specials, like such and such has 5 comedy specials on Netflix. Like, damn, you just had a Netflix special last year. You wrote a whole hour next year in a year's time. And yeah, they getting more stage time and all of this other stuff, but there's also a work ethic that comes with that. There's also a confidence aspect. I talk about confidence a lot because when you are confident, you can talk more on stage and you can draw it out. A non-confident comic, at least to me, has to find the jokes in between everything. Versus sometimes you just let it breathe. Just talk. Like Dave Chappelle did this little 10-minute thing that came out maybe like a day ago, and if you listen to it, it was just powerful. It was he had maybe like 3 jokes within this entire 10-minute thing, but we're all going to keep watching Dave Chappelle because his confidence that he just does not care anymore. I haven't fully figured out not to give a fuck. I still fall under, if I have a bad show, I kick myself in the ass. Yeah. Like I haven't figured out how to break that.
Do you think that kind of falls into the whole finding your voice? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like Dave Chappelle has his voice. Like Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle. We all know that. Like I remember right after right after the whole George Floyd thing, he had a thing about a week later at his ranch. And he was pointing out that everyone's pointing him out and calling him out like, hey, where the F are you, bro? Like, why aren't you speaking out about this? Yeah. And he talked for a while, and I watched the whole thing that he did, and there was some funny stuff, but he's just real. It's like, I'm going to get up and talk about whatever I want, laugh or don't. I don't give a shit. And that's his voice. Like, and sometimes it hits hard and it's hilarious. And sometimes he just gets up there and makes very valuable points that we can all take away and learn something from. And I love that. And I feel like that's his voice. Just to point out myself, I haven't been doing this that long. And that's something I've been mulling around in my head. How do I find my voice? How do I find my voice? Now, here's one thing I know. When I'm around friends and we're just being stupid, I have a lot of fun. When I get on stage, I still get a little anxious and I still have my comedy bit. Like, these are my jokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to end on this joke. I've gone to a show where I've had 7 minutes and the booker said, hey man, I got plenty of time. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. And I got up there and I did 8. And he's like, dude, you had 2 more minutes. And I was like, I didn't have anything else to say. Like, you know what I mean? Where most comics would love to get 2 or 3 extra minutes, or 5 extra minutes. But that's the point where I'm at. Like, I'm just, to get up there and just be comfortable, just start talking with the crowd or start talking about what I did yesterday and what was funny about it. And that's, I feel like that's where I think people are trying to find their voice. And that could be a little bit of that confidence and just being yourself.
It's a mix. I would, if I had to advise somebody that's like, man, they gave me 7, but then they said get 10, but I only did 8. What I would suggest to that person is dig a little deeper on that material, whatever you're talking about, and give us your opinion on that. Like, we know where your jokes are. Now give us a little deeper and now tell us your opinion. I'm gonna give you a slight example. And then there's this thing, and I learned this at UCB, and I applied it to me doing stand-up is, if this is true, then what else is true? And when I say that, I was listening to this comedian. His name is Tony Baker, super funny comic. He was practicing his set off stage at the Improv. Thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this, wrote it all down. He went on stage, did none of it. He did 15 minutes on the stool, on just the stool on the stage, and it was crushing. He was like, what's the purpose of this stool? He's like, if I sit down, now comics will shame me because they're like, you're not supposed to sit down. Like, is this stool only meant for my drink? He's like, do you think the person, then he dug a little deeper. Do you think the person who made this stool made this for drinks? Like, would they be offended that they worked all these long, hard hours to make this stool just for me to sit a cup on top of it? This person went out and cut down this tree, which is taking oxygen away from all of us. Now he went to he personalized the tree. Like, this tree sat there, might have had a family, had little seedlings scattered around. Now he's gone. And now I just sit a cup. That's almost disrespectful. Like, I want to sit. I'm letting you all know I want to sit on this stool right now. 15 minutes. Get off stage and got upset after he killed because he's like, damn it, I didn't do nothing I wanted to work on. And I was like, he found his voice. He found that little bubble that we're trying to find of like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go up there and talk. So if you just go up there, if your joke is, yeah, so me, I went to my refrigerator, found nothing in it, left. Why do we always go back and look in the refrigerator 2-3 more times as if food was gonna show up? Well, let's say that's your joke. It does well, it lasts. Like, now you go a little bit deeper into it. Like, you go into the fridge the second time and you move stuff around. Like, is there a portal in this refrigerator? What if there was a portal where these little gremlins come in and they put something in? Just you start, and if that's true, like, how would the gremlins even know? What if these were vegan gremlins? Hold it. Then you just, okay, da. So if you just figure out if you know where your joke is, just kind of riff a little bit, tell us your opinion, and yeah.
No, that's great. I feel like I need to do that more often. All right, Willie. Well, that's all these tips are great, Willie. Let's hear a little bit about like where people can find you. Where can people find you on social media? Where, what's your website? All that stuff.
Find me on social media, Willie Macc, WILLIE MACC. It's 2 C's. I hate when people keep giving me an MAC or MACK. One guy spelled the MACQ in the interview. I was like, fuck you, I'm not French. Anyways, so it's like, that, and also Mac Boys Properties. That's MACCBOYZ Properties on Instagram as well, because that's what we're using for. I really do have an HGTV show coming out in 2022. We start filming next month, at the end of next month in March, April, for 12 weeks. It's going to be called Renovating the Lou. And it's about me taking my money that I made in comedy and just commercials, and I took it back home to St. Louis and bought properties, and it's going to show me restoring these properties and homes in St. Louis. And yes, so that's where you can find me.
Oh, okay. Renovating the Lou. I'm sorry. I thought it was like the bathroom, but Louisville. Because some people call the bathroom
the Lou. No. St. Louis, the Lou.
But you know what? That's gonna suck people in. They're like, wait, what? Like, what's his? I love it, dude.
That's hilarious. Now that you said like the Lou, so he just goes around renovating shitty.
Dude, I mean, come on, Willie, a comedian, HGTV show where you just renovate bathrooms and you just go in and be like, this is what you shit on. Like, I mean, come on, there could be some humor there and a really fun show. Everyone renovates houses, but who just goes in and renovates bathrooms?
That's actually like a funny sketch. Like, you still got this crappy ass house. Like, you still got holes in the wall, but your bathroom?
Yeah, you got like the golden porcelain bathtub legs, and yeah.
See, usually you sit down on a bathroom toilet like this. Now this one reclines and it pushes your legs up and then massages the back of your neck.
Thank you so much for checking this video out. Willie mentioned some books. I'm gonna put links below. Check them out. If you have found value in this video, let me know in the comment section below. What else do you want to hear? Who do you want me to interview? Thank you for checking this out. Again, subscribe, like, share, all that jazz. We will see you in the next episode. Peace.